Oh, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's tough right now for the Philadelphia Union, but we're going to talk about it here. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of PHLY Union Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, JP Zapata, Tyler Zulli behind the glass, and join as always, the lovely Renee Washington. Renee, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with this team. I'm happy with this performance. There's some things to be happy with off the pitch, but this is terrible. We're talking 5 straight, well, not 5 straight losses, but we haven't won in 5 straight, Renee. It's not good.
This is a no good, very bad day. Listen, I think there's a couple things that have me the most irritated. One, it was not that long ago that we were talking about the Philadelphia Union as the last unbeaten team across the MLS. And since that first loss, they had obviously tied Atlanta United prior to that loss against RSL. But including that first loss, they haven't won since. And what makes it worse is they continue to give up goals, 2-3 goals. They continue to be unable to hold on to a lead the few times they do get it. And it leaves us scratching our head, having way more questions than we should about what this team needs to do moving forward. I mean, the biggest thing that I keep going back to is like, what now?
Yeah.
Like, now what do we do? What does the team do moving forward from here? And there's a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. And of course, what makes it even more difficult, JP, is you've got a game in just a couple of days. So it's a very quick turnaround and not time to really figure things out. Could be a positive, short-term memory, get right back at it, or not a positive.
But we've said this over these past couple matches, like thinking like the next match is going to be it. That is exactly when they were going to bounce back and find their way again. And like, thing is that this Union team has gone through this before, right? They've gone through their slumps, Renee. But something about this slump, it just feels different. And look, this is the MLS. Like, this happens all the time. You just talked about it. We were just like a month ago talking about the last unbeaten team. And now we're trying to find a way to get a victory. And we're talking about, Renee, we're talking about 3 straight home losses too.
Yes.
Like, that's the most alarming part. Like, okay, we've had some bad results. You know, you get killed by Pachuca, but to lose your home field advantage in the way they have, this is a fortress. This is a place where teams hate to come and play. And here comes Orlando City, which, by the way, great job. We had a great interview with Evan last week, Evan Weston. And like, we talked about with Evan some of Orlando City's struggles, and here comes Orlando. This could have been the match for them to kickstart their season. Their attack got it going, and here we are talking about the Union. And I don't think it's time to hit the panic button because we're not even in the summer technically, so like it's very early to hit that panic button. But there is something different about this slump compared to some of the other slumps over the past 5 seasons here.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't know. It feels different. It definitely is different. It also is sad to see this team is having uncharacteristic losses that we have to go back years to compare it to. You know, you look at where this team has been in the past, but even just their ability to get home, to be dominant at home. And yet this season alone, they've lost, as you mentioned, 3 games, which I believe is just as many as they've lost in like the last 3 years at home.
Yep.
It's really rough to see that this team has had so much success until they didn't. Like, it's been, the biggest thing I keep saying is like, everything's been good until it wasn't. It's been like, it's like they hit a wall, and you go out again this past weekend, and every game you're trying to rally and be optimistic, and there's only so much optimism you can have when just continuously the Union are falling short. It hasn't been good.
And it's just like the way they're losing as well, the way that we've gotten to this point. I mean, you know, we'll talk about a little bit in this match, but dude, like we technically dominated possession. That, you know, and you hear that as a Union fan, you know that the match did not go on our way. We're talking about uncharacteristic goals. Like the defensive breakdowns from this club as of late has been so unorthodox, and it's just crazy to think like how we've gotten. And I've been bringing in a good comment here. This team peaked in the 2022 MLS Cup final run. We won't win the cup if the owners don't invest in quality players. We'll have plenty of time to talk about the investment in this club as far as players go. But that's a very good point, and we've brought up on this show plenty of times. Is we're running it back for 3 straight seasons, Renee. And look, you have your positives like we've discussed, but right now, like these guys have to figure it out on their own. I don't think that this is just coaching. I think it's more what I'm watching on the pitch. It's more mental breakdown that I'm seeing, and it's just a scary thought. Like, how do we break out of this one?
Exactly.
Shake it off. There
are a lot of key areas to talk through. One is absolutely on the spending side. That's a big part. And I don't want to discredit that because that's a huge factor as to why the team has struggled. They have had the same core group they've been running it back with. It's stagnant, it's predictable, but also you look at how this team has been performing in terms of results. You give up 3 goals to Orlando, 2 goals to DC, 3 goals to Seattle, 2 goals to RSL, 2 goals to Atlanta. They're giving up 2 and 3 goals. That's the last, and all of those games the last 5 games where the Union are winless, they have given up a total of 12 goals. They are scoring also. Don't get me wrong. Because again, they didn't get shut out in any of these games. They are at least scoring, but when you have 12 goals you're giving up and they scored, I believe it was 9 in the last 2, 4, 6. Yes, they scored 9 in the last 5. So that should be enough to win games. You should be able to walk out of a game where you score 2 goals and you win 2-0, 2-1. But for whatever reason, defensively, that is where I want to start because that has been the most concerning. And when I say defensively, I don't even just mean Oliver Zemla in net without Andre Blake, who's injured, or the back line. Yes, that's a key part of it too. But as Jim Curtin has mentioned time and time again, including post-game, this team, much like every team, you defend as a unit. It works all the way through. Obviously, no Julian Carranza, which drastically impacts the offense, but you wonder how much it also does impact the defense. He's one that high presses as a forward, high presses the opponent's back line, and the hardest thing when you talk about those stats, JP, as you mentioned, this was a game the Union actually had the better possession. 61% is major. That wasn't like a 51 to 49%. Major possession. 29 shots in the game to Orlando's 13. Only 6 of them on target, which is a concern in itself. But they were creating chances. They were getting in the box. They drew 2 penalty kicks.
Oh, man.
And still lost the game.
We'll talk about that, too.
So defensively, and we'll get into the offense, too, because that is a part of this. Defensively, you still find a way. Even up, they finally score first. Finally get on the scoreboard in the first half with a goal by Mikel. Ooh, a beautiful pass from Nate Harriel. Perfectly played, perfectly timed. Split the defenders, finds Mikel Uwa. Honestly, a split second sooner or later on that pass, and it's not making it. Beautiful play, sets it up. You're up 1-0, and then you end up down 3-1 from that goal all the way to the first 20 seconds of the second half. That's unacceptable.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the defense is the most alarming part about it. When we were talking about Evan last week, we talked about how the wings for Orlando were the weak spot because of injury. So you're playing 2 wings out there on the left and the right-hand side who are not very comfortable in those positions there. So Orlando didn't have their best starting 11. The Union, besides Carranza being out, and I thought Lope had a great game as well. We didn't have Elliott. It was Lowe instead. But other than that, it was a strong starting 11 for the Philadelphia Union, and yet they still could not exploit their weaknesses. Instead, Renee, Orlando had a game plan, and they fulfilled that game plan through and through by forcing the Union to attack from that low block. Essentially, once they got to the final third, they were like, Orlando was like, here, Philly, you take the ball. Now you try to attack. And then once Philly was coming out of that low block, then Orlando would pounce on them, create those turnovers. And again, we've talked about it. A transition defense needs to pick it up. And it's just, again, it happened. And so, you look at some of these goals, like that first goal, you cannot. Wagner needs to communicate with Gleznes. Duncan McGuire, we really drove that point through in that preview show. He's a beast. Yeah. He's playing this season pissed off because of what happened with Blackburn. And so here he comes. Wagner loses him, doesn't communicate with Gleznes, and Duncan does a great job of getting it in. Typically, That goal, the third goal as well, Blake probably stops that. I get that. But Blake's not here. You got to help out Zemla. Zemla's done a solid job. But
Yeah.
with a young goalkeeper, you need to help him out. And I just feel like we haven't helped him out as much as possible. The Muriel goal, the second goal, the first of Muriel's goal in the night, I mean, that was a screaming goal. Jack McGlynn, who definitely has done a better job defensively, could have done a better job of being a little more physical, getting in the face of Luis Muriel. But we're talking about Orlando resurrecting their attack this season. Muriel got his first 2 goals in Chester, Pennsylvania. And we'll talk about Damien's comments after the game because I thought that was great. I love seeing that from Damien. But overall, like, you cannot allow a team like Orlando to fulfill their game plan through and through. Where's your game plan? Where's the fight back from this Union team? So, we talk about it. Can they bounce back after yet again another loss? Are you pissed off? Where's that energy? Renee, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet for a full 90 minutes, and this is concerning.
It's very concerning. Honestly, in the opening minutes, there was a great chance that Orlando had that ricocheted off the near post and did not go in. As much as it was frustrating to say that they lost the lead, the Union actually didn't really start strong either. They created a lot of chances, but what we keep seeing consistently is that the Union will be on the attack, and their opponent comes down, and their first chance is a near goal. And again, it's not just on Oliver Zemla. They're getting into really dangerous spaces on the pitch, in the 6, in and around the box. And as they're receiving it, you're getting them wide. They're getting wide open looks on net. As much as we can say Andre Blake might have saved that goal for any of the goals they've given up, any 12 of the goals in the last 5 games, why does the Union defensively keep giving their opponents opportunities wide open where they're able to take a touch and have nothing but green in front of them to have time to get their head up and take a shot and bury it? This is the MLS. These teams are too good for that. And the Union are giving guys way too much time and space. They're not communicating as players are running through. They're not communicating as to help defense to step and close out. And we saw this at the end of last season, and we're seeing it again now, that teams are punishing them because they're just giving them way too much time and space around the goal. And it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable at this point. And so when you point at, yes, you can say for the center backs even, of the 3 of them, who are the best 2? And I think, honestly, Jim Curtin's going to continue to rotate. I don't think there's a hierarchy in the same sense of, like, clear cut who's better and who's the 1, 2, or 3 up for center backs. In the midfield, I've noticed this, and I've been saying this. There are times the midfield is not getting back on defense. They're not matching up. You talked about it with Jack. We've seen it with Jose, Jack, Quinn. They're not defending, and they're allowing those late runners to come into the box wide open for chances. It's just been a snowball effect or ripple effect of continuous errors that are mounting into now losses. The first games of the season, we saw this, and this is where I get a little triggered because I feel like I've said this many, many times before. We kept seeing them having these errors, but we'd say, oh, it's okay. The Union are still unbeaten. Oh, it's okay. They're still undefeated on the road. Oh, it's okay. They're still the lone team unbeaten. They lose 6-0 to Pachuca. Oh, it's okay. They just are tired. There's so many excuses we made. Even this past weekend, we can make the excuse, no Julian Carranza, it's fine. But on the other side, Orlando didn't have a number of their players. They were without their back line was a piecemeal back line, and the Union still could not beat them.
And you could tell that Orlando was definitely desperate for a result. I mean, the way they were just playing all through that. And what sucks too is that, like, we had a lead. Like, Nate Harriel found Mikel Ua, and a great job. You get the lead. That was a great play, great teamwork. And, like, you should be able to hold on to that lead. Like, that's the thing. This Union team, when they're playing from behind, that's not a recipe for success for this club. They want to get the early lead. They want to hold on to the lead. They want to play their defense, play their Union style of soccer. And so when you had that lead, you're thinking to yourself, like, okay, we got this. But then defensive miscues happen, and now it's 2-1 heading into halftime, and then it's 3-1. Now, luckily, like, that's the thing too, like, this match, you can't kill the attack whatsoever because you had the PK, and then you had the second PK opportunity, which, Daniel Gaz, like we talk about, like, he's automatic, but you know how hard it is to knock every single one of your penalty kicks, especially going up against one of the best goalkeepers in this league as well, Pedro Galice. So it's just a tough spot to kind of put yourself in if you're the Union, to just kind of allow this game to kind of fall through you. Quinn Sullivan's opportunity, yes, that should have been a goal. I thought that we were on sides on that one. It's unfortunate that got called back, but I think more concerning here, the attack, we kill the attack week by week, but right now the problem with the Union is defense. It's team defense. You can't allow 3 goals to happen. As our boy Tyler has a little tidbit here for us. The Union have 2 or less points more than Orlando City, who is a -6 goal differential, Montreal, who's have a -8 goal differential, Nashville's a -5 goal differential, and Chicago with a -10 goal differential. Like it's just absolutely wild. I just saw it now. The Union have allowed thus far this season 19 goals, Renee. 19. We're not even at summertime. That's just not Union soccer. To allow 19 goals through these many amount of matches, it's absolutely wild. And this is what we're talking about. This team hasn't won in their last 5 because defensively, we're not playing up to par what we're used to here. So they're going to have to figure this out. I do not know how they'll do it because honestly, it's fundamentals. Like, I don't even think I think the players that we have back there still have what it takes, but where are the fundamentals? Where's the communication? These are things that we're just yelling about after every single match here.
Yeah, that's the exact key. And Tyler, thanks for sharing those nuggets of how the Union have been playing, because one of the other things that I want to hit on and circle back to after we finish talking about the offense is the opponents that the Union are giving up points to are struggling opponents.
Yeah.
But offensively, I'll circle back to that. Offensively, as we talk through, it is frustrating and very deflating when you're generating 10, 15, 29 chances. Again, only 6 of them on frame, but 29 chances that you're creating, and then you go down and your team gives up a goal. Yeah. It's such a momentum killer. It's so frustrating, and it's so, tough because now every time you're trying to rally to score, you're getting the ball out of your own net. And so I do feel like it starts on the defensive side. If in any of these games, you're getting a clean sheet, you're winning this game. Again, 3-2, 3-2, 2-2, 2-1. If you can get a clean sheet, that's a win. Yeah. You are scoring. There was a time, I remember us talking on the show about the lack of offensive production and the inability to score. The Union were doing the opposite. Getting out-possessed, not generating shots, not really getting into their attack, not sustaining possession in their attack, that's for sure. And yet, this season, they've actually been able to do that. You look at all of their games, they've scored in every game except for Pachuca. They've been scoring goals. They've been finding the back of the net. That is one of the definite positives about this team. Would I have liked them to have gotten a second goal earlier or even a third goal to tie things up, because they definitely had chances between Quinn Sullivan's opportunity, the penalty kick. They had some others in the run of play that were really good looks. Ali Bedoya had a couple crosses to him. They generated really good chances. And I do think the composure around the goal can be better.
Yeah.
Of getting those at least on frame. Some of those are point blank that if you at least get them on frame, it should be a goal. But again, I do see the other side that it's frustrating to be on the attack, and come right down, gave up a goal. And there are those stretches that teams sometimes have where you just cannot defensively get it figured out. But I don't even understand how we got here, why we got here, and how they can fix it. But I do know where you can fix any problems you may be having, and that's with Rite Aid, because Rite Aid provides you an opportunity to get some really good over-the-counter medications if you're dealing with an issue maybe with your allergies. Don't worry. Rite Aid has plenty of over-the-counter medications for you, Zysol and Flonase and Claritin and Benadryl and different things. They also have a lot for you to be proactive, because as we know, when it comes to vaccinations, there's a lot of questions that we typically may have about which vaccines do we need? When did we last get them? What are the ages that we should be getting certain vaccines? And over at Rite Aid, they have Rite Aid pharmacists that are specially trained and will give you all the support you need to answer questions you may have regarding any vaccinations. Rite Aid also has the opportunity for you to walk in or schedule an appointment that you can go in and get those vaccinations checked out. COVID-19, shingles, pneumonia, whooping cough, tetanus, chickenpox, many more that you can check out at Rite Aid. Their pharmacists in Pennsylvania can immunize ages 18 and older for 1 day for most vaccines, and ages 3 and older for some like the flu or COVID-19. There are some stage 8 and health restrictions that may apply. So again, you ask your Rite Aid pharmacist for details. They can give you insight and help provide you with all that you need to know and learn about the vaccines. Now, also at Rite Aid, they always have a ton of different options for you. They're the great spot to go for those last minute things you need. If you need to go in and get, a birthday card, or maybe you want to get some snacks for the road trip that you're going on, Rite Aid has a lot there for you that you could always check out. So head on over to your local Rite Aid. There are Rite Aid stores that are all throughout the area, easy to find, usually on pretty much every other corner, it feels like. And select Rite Aid stores have that dedicated pharmacist that's ready to administer any vaccines or answer any questions you may have. If you have questions on what immunizations you need, if you're not sure if you're up to date, if you're feeling nervous to ask questions, that Rite Aid pharmacist will take time to make personalized recommendations for you based on your health history and be able to help you out. No questions are too small. Just walk in or schedule an appointment Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Again, state age and health restrictions may apply, and you can ask a Rite Aid pharmacist for more details.
Awesome stuff. All right. We're talking about betting a lot here, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, we're not betting on the Union defense these days. No. But what you can use to bet with, guys, is our friends over at the Bet Parks app, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, listen, it's the season of playoffs. I know our Sixers and Flyers are not in the playoffs right now, but guys, you can bet on NBA, NHL playoffs, so you guys can win big. Obviously, we're in the middle of MLS and MLB season, so you guys have options on different things to bet on. So we want you guys to think about Bet Parks when you think about making your next bet there. Get in the zone with the Bet Parks Sports app. Definitely check out some of the other events that are coming up sports-wise. Check out some of your favorite lines, some of your favorite underdogs as well to bet on. You can win big with all-day action, win your first $10 bet, and earn up to $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun, you love to win, you Bet Parks. Download the app and play along with us today. Must be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And thank you to our friends over at Bet Parks. I even thrown another great comment here. Mm-hmm. We understand Flock. He was a big help in transition defensively, especially since we attack with our fullbacks. This is going to be the tough decision Jim is going to have to make every single match here, and it's going to determine on the matchup. But in this one, you wanted Jack in there because of what we talked about. The weakness of Orlando, well, I guess I should throw that in air quotes now, the weakness that Orlando had at the wings, and you want Jack's vision to kind of pinpoint those passes from those wings. There were some times where you saw Jack as that lone holding defensive midfielder, kind of pinpointing the attack from that little Regisa back there. But I get what you're saying there, and you're definitely going to see more of Leon Flock. But for this game, I understand why Jim went with McGlynn over Leon.
Yeah, and to say that Leon Flock's role is underestimated is a really good point, because I do not feel like it has to be Jack or Leon. I think that's part of the issue too. Honestly, why not have them both out there? I think the midfield needs to be restructured, to be honest. And I know it was talked about post-game with Jim, and he was asked some tough questions about, individual players, and Jose Martinez was one of them, because he has had a few games now where he's had costly turnovers that he's literally giving to the other team. He's assisting their goals. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like, unfortunately, as we struggle, the whole issue about running it back is not just because the Union are predictable. It's also because some of these guys are a step slower. Ali Bedoya is not the only one, and he actually has been playing well. I feel like, unfortunately, what we're seeing is the Union have been running the same guys, logging a lot of heavy minutes game after game, and it's catching up to them. They're a step off, and they're, I won't say washed, but they're just a step off where you need some fresh blood, some young legs in there. And to see Jose Martinez and the midfield get stretched so out of position at times, the goals that come in transition, Damian Lowe is caught sometimes stepping to the wrong player to help try to cover for the midfield. Then, as you mentioned with Kai Wagner, guys are running across, and they're not talking on the back line. Mm-hmm. So the goals that were created are because there's guys running wide open, just drifting along the back line, and then Orlando's midfield finds them, slots them through, goal. So it's a few different breakdowns. The communication factor is definitely one, but the other is the midfield matchup. Damian Lowe shouldn't have to step. He's stepping, the forward's running right into the gap behind him, and Jacob Glesnes is keeping him on sides and then out of position, unable to recover. And it was almost like, how did it get so open? Is he offside? No, he's onside. But defensively, they're just caught so out of position. The shape is not great at times. And I think they need to figure out a better grouping for the mid. Something's off, and Jose's off. He's, I think, trying to do too much at times. Sometimes he's trying to make runs forward and take players on and trying to get in the attack and put too much on himself. And I think he's playing a little bit out of what makes him El Brujo. But I also feel like in general, they're not winning the midfield. And it's crazy to say because they had the better possession.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at the matchup, it's the outside backs for the Union that are helping to create the attack. Obviously, Nate Harrell directly did that with his assists, but the outside backs and the forwards and the midfield's kind of like getting lost in the sauce at sometimes, and just defensively definitely lost and not matched up at all.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I would have loved
concerning.
I would have loved to see a little bit more, 2-on-1 matchups there on each side, whether it be on the left with Kai and Jack or whether it be on the right with Nate and Allie. I just saw a lot of just one guy roaming up the pitch. On the right-hand side, I saw a lot of Allie moving up, which, he's more comfortable with that than Nate. And on the left-hand side, I saw Kai doing that. But, just putting both Angulo and Torres in tougher spots, I just wanted to see a little bit more of that on Saturday. But, again, I don't think that was one of the main problems. I think defensively it was more of the issue. And you're right. I mean, maybe a defensive switch. It's funny because when you're talking about the diamond, right, you're talking about that compact midfield, and yet these guys are not playing compact. No. Instead, the diamond is getting spaced out, and that can't happen. When they're at their best, that diamond is tight and compact, and teams just have a tough time of getting through that. And right now, it is happening.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Where does that start? Because they are getting stretched and out of position too many times. And I know there's been the push for them to be more offensive-minded. Maybe too many times they're all going and they're not balancing. If Jack McGlynn's making a higher run up or getting a service into the box, you can't have, Ollie also go and Jose's caught. They've got to balance each other. And maybe even that of their rotations in the midfield are a little bit off. It just something feels like at times other teams are able to play through the middle too easily, like right down the middle, right down the jugular.
Right down I-95.
They're able to play right through the middle, and the goals and even some of the really good chances Orlando had came right down the middle. There's no creativity. It's not them combining. It's literally a win it and a quick transition to find a forward.
That's why I always say, Renee, I would love this team to have a little bit more versatility with the tactics. I love the diamond. It's what we know. It's so hard. When it's at its best, it's so hard to defend and beat. But, there's times like this where here's Orlando. They want you to possess the ball, and it's clear. You fell into their trap. But I've talked about it before, Renee. There are times where you do need to possess the ball, and there are times where you do need to move up and play and be comfortable with the ball at your feet. And when that happens, they're not the most comfortable with it. So, I like this type of situation, it would be nice if they could have a different type of formation, a different type of philosophy they can switch to when this is not working, because this was not working, and you wanted to kind of switch to something else. And unfortunately, you just flat out couldn't.
And I wonder, as we've talked through about the different formations, if there's something that the Union should be playing in that makes more sense. The diamond midfield, the flat midfield, 3-5-2, 4-3-3. What can they try? And it's a shame because with 5 winless games and now has you ready to throw the pasta noodles against the wall to see what sticks. But you have to figure out something. This isn't it. No. Because even prior to them going winless, they still were struggling. You look at the previous games, it was always that down to the wire game, last minute goals, hold your breath games. All season, it's been like that. And now I do want to loop back in Tyler's point that he made before that the Union have 2 or less points more than Orlando City, Montreal, Chicago, Nashville. The Union have struggled against the worst teams in the league. And this has me concerned of, are they really not that good? Is this, every game there's been something. Again, it's been Julian Carranza is out, Andre Blake's out, it's injuries, there's always an excuse as to why the Union are not getting the result that they want. But when you really, really, really look at who they've played and the results that they've gotten, you just lost to Orlando City, who now actually jumps up. They were second to last in standings. They're now in the scrum of that, tied for 10th place.
Yeah.
You also already tied Atlanta, who's below you. Barely beat Nashville, who's below you. Chicago, as we know, was not a great game to open up the season. That ended up a tie late in the game. We were happy they came in with a tie against bottom of the barrel Chicago. Mm-hmm. They are struggling against teams that are not even top half of their conference. On the other side, obviously, RSL is number 1 in the West right now. So, okay, you can make the excuse they lost to the best team in the West.
But that was a big win for them.
Right. That actually was a season. It changed the trajectory, I feel like, for RSL.
That's a big early win for them.
So when even Austin, I mean, and Seattle, you look at Austin was a great game. Seattle, 10th in the West. Like, they're giving up. Here's what I've noticed. Teams that are struggling come in to play the Philadelphia Union and suddenly have a breakout game, scoring 3 goals, having first. You look at this past weekend, you get Moriel, who just has been unable to score, but now suddenly Luis Moriel is able to get the go-ahead goal and 2 goals, and Duncan McGuire is what Duncan McGuire is. That part, we expected. You can't leave him open. But to have breakout games for opponents against the Union, that is not good. That is extremely concerning. And what makes it worse is, as we have these preview shows before every game, every reporter that we bring in that's from the opponent's city and covers them has been telling us, oh, Seattle is struggling. They're looking to try to, light a fire. Oh, Orlando City is pure chaos. It's a dumpster fire right now. They can't figure anything out. Every time we hear that team ends up coming in and taking points, beating, not even just tying, beating now. That's 2 out of 3 losses that they've had against teams that are far below 500 and struggling. Ties against teams that you really should not be tying. They're just happy. Chicago, Atlanta, they're just happy to get the tie. That's concerning too.
Yeah, I mean, I just checked. Seattle, they drew against the Galaxy, and then they won their Cascadian match with Portland. So, like, we are becoming like the jumpstart to team season.
Yes.
We're the spark plugs here. The Philadelphia Spark Plugs. Like, literally, this is so unorthodox here. We're not used to this type of style of soccer for the U. It kind of brings me back to like those 2015, 2016, 2017 years. Because, like, there was just matches where it's like, they get the lead, and then the other team would get like 2-3 goals, and then it was over. I don't want to feel like that. And look, there is still plenty of time, like we just talked about. Like, the reason why I'm not going panic mode is because we still have the summer. Like, we're not even there. We know the warmer it gets, this team does wake up. But when you're seeing some of these unorthodox mistakes, that's the concerning part. We're talking about defense. This is a team that's been the best defensive club over the past couple seasons, and this is what we're struggling in. That's some of the most concerning parts about it. And Renee, not to look now, but obviously we'll talk about New York soon. But they're starting to feel themselves. They're 4th in the East. And then you look at the end of the month and the beginning part of June. You got Toronto, which is a good team this year. Montreal, solid. But then you got Miami and Cincinnati back to back. Like, they need to figure this out. You got, obviously, NYCFC, the Revs, and Charlotte. I think those 3 matches are big to kind of figure out, what do we do here. What I don't want is to be in the middle of June, and then you start maybe you draw against New England, Charlotte, but then you lose to Miami, Cincy, and Toronto. Like, you don't want these type of results. So it's going to be an interesting couple weeks here. And we'll talk about the cave and stuff too, but I don't know what this club's offseason or this club's summer plan is going to be per se. But there are things that need to be fixed. It can be fixed. The things we're talking about, they can be fixed. They can easily be fixed. But we're talking about now, 5 matches? We're seeing a lot of the same stuff. And at some point, it's like something's got to give. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's the hard part. The more you talk about it, the more it mentally even becomes kind of your identity. Like, it's a really tough gamble. And I know Jim Curtin was saying, like, we're in this streak, we're in a funk, we're trying to figure things out. As a team, when you're constantly harping on the same issues, giving up early goals, blowing the lead, not being able to play a full 90 minutes, struggling defensively to give up 12 goals in the last 5 games. When you talk about these things over and over again, it sometimes can almost continue to perpetuate that. And now you find yourselves overthinking, nervous, playing a little bit more timid, and not able to just not able to just play free-flowing soccer. There we go, words. So honestly, I get nervous because the longer this streak continues, the longer it makes me wonder if the Union will be able to crawl and climb out of this hole. It's been a frustrating stretch for them, and it's been a time that it feels like everything's going wrong. Even down at Daniel Gazdag's missed penalty kick. We've never seen him miss a PK.
I know. That's where you know that was bad.
Everything's going wrong. And it's like you're watching slowly as it falls. It's like watching a car accident. Like, you're slowly watching it happen, and you see where it's headed and you can't stop it. We talked about this last year. I think that's what makes it worse. This feels like the layover from the end of last season. And that's terrifying to think about, because they were also in a streak where they couldn't win games.
Yeah.
And they had all these ties, and they at least had enough to get into the playoffs, but then of course got into the playoffs and lost. It feels like we're talking about the same things over and over again, and there hasn't been any positive change. And you know where you can make some positive change, though, JP?
Where's that?
That's in your gut health. Because with Olipop, they are the world's first functional soda. You don't have to continue the cycle of having digestive health issues. If you're dealing with digestive health issues, Olipop can help you tackle it. 2 out of 3 Americans are dealing with digestive health issues. 95% are not getting the recommended amount of fiber that they need. So with Olipop, a new kind of soda that has 2 to 5 grams of sugar per can, 9 grams of fiber per can, you can break the cycle, get your gut health in check, feel good, and then you can go about your day knowing that you are taking care of your body. Olipop has a ton of different flavors for you. I always say there's a flavor, at least one, that you're going to love, if not many, many more than that. Because with Olipop, you can always have them as a mixer. You can mix them with ice cream. You can have them straight as just a delicious soda. And with their flavors like the classic root beer float, the classic grape or vintage cola, or strawberry vanilla, great with some tequila, cream soda or cherry cola to wash down your meal. You know, they have so many different flavors for you. They're fun popping colors with a nice pop for you. And with Olipop, they've got the prebiotic fiber. They also have a ton of botanical ingredients that support your gut health, as well as plant-based fiber. So a great opportunity for you to break the cycle, feel good, and also know that you can buy Olipop at a number of different places. And today, when you use the code PHLY20, you get 20% off your next Olipop order. That discount does only apply to one-time orders, not to subscription orders. And Olipop, which is sold online at drinkolipop.com or on Amazon, is also available in almost 30,000 retailers nationwide, including Wawa, Target, Sprouts. You can find them on GoPuff, Wegmans. Plenty of options to get your gut health in check and to try some delicious, refreshing Olipop today. And use that code PHLY20 to get yourself 20% off of your next order.
Yeah, Olipop's definitely big on Pizza Fridays in my household, so always keep
yes.
that around. I'm gonna tell you about something else that's really good, guys, and that is our friends over at TrueMark Financial. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about my Saturday a couple weeks ago. I woke up on a Saturday morning, just checking my, the bank account statement, just make sure everything's good. I want to make sure no one's spending thousands of dollars on Olipop, right? So I checked to make sure everything's good, and then I get a notice that my bank closed. Guys, like seriously, my bank just closed. And obviously, with what you're seeing on the news, that's extremely scary. Now, luckily, to be transparent, I didn't have $250,000 in my bank account, all right? But we were good. We were good. Republic just changed over to Fulton, so that was good. But, I was talking to Megan and Kristen over at TrueMark, and they were kind of explaining the situation to me. It's kind of scary. So it got me thinking about a credit union and what the benefits are of joining a credit union. And it really intrigued me. And I want you guys to join on in this as well. Because when you join a credit union like TrueMark, you become a part owner, which means profits come right back to you instead of going to shareholders. They have better rates, lower fees, and a better return on savings and more flexible options with all the same digital tools and technology to make all of our lives easier. And TrueMark has local roots. That's the best part about it. Why are we Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, Flyers, and Union fans? Because we love to support local. And that is exactly what TrueMark is. It is a local credit union. They are located right here in Fort Washington, but they have 24 branches throughout the Philadelphia area. So why not support local, guys? Become a member of a credit union has so many benefits over becoming a customer at a bank. It's an absolute no-brainer. So here's what you got to do. You're going to head on over to truemark.com/PHLY to learn more, or you can find a branch near you. That's truemark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA. Make sure you check them out, guys. And thank you to our friends over at TrueMark Financial.
What bank did you have that just closed? Like it doesn't exist anymore?
Republic Bank. Yeah, so they got bought out by Fulton. So the only reason why I joined because they were owned by the old Commerce Bank. You remember that?
Wow, yeah. I used to love Commerce Bank. They used to give out lollipops and the piggy banks that were in the shape of a C.
Renee's
I used to have one of those.
Well, now, that's what bit me. I went with nostalgia. As a good millennial that I am, that whole nostalgia.
That's like just waking up to find your bank's going. Where's your money then?
It's safe. So Fulton now is running their operation, so everything's safe. But it's definitely scary waking up like on a Saturday morning. You're just like, is my money good? Like we're good,
man.
We're good. But yeah,
all righty then.
Get your crap in. Renee, one other point I wanted to bring up in this one, monumental moment, 90th minute. Who comes out? Ty Baribo. We got Ty spotting. Needs to be like an alert. The Ty spotting, who's in there for the 15 minutes of injury time is insane to me.
That's a lot of time.
That's absolutely wild. But that goes to my other point, Renee. Like, I know like the attack has been fine as of late. You know, it would have been really nice to have Julian Carranza, but like I still don't feel comfortable with what we have as far as backups in the attack, especially as the two strikers. Love Quinn. He's doing a great job. We're asking a lot of him. I still think he needs to work on his finishing, especially in that final third. But I just don't feel comfortable if Carranza or Ua are down. And Ua, let's give Ua props. So he had a really solid game too on Saturday.
He did.
But you feel a little worried when your backup options are Chris Donovan and Ty Baribo.
Yeah, listen, I think Quinn Sullivan does better in the midfield because I feel like right now at least, and I'm not saying he will never get there, he's not composed enough around the goal. So to have him a little bit further back, he's a runner. He's high energy. He's all over the place. Right. So I think having him in the midfield to just buzz around is actually what's ideal for him. I just feel like at forward, there's just so much more pressure to be polished. Plus your back's to goal a little bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas he's able in the midfield to run at players and pick and choose his spots of when he's overlapping to get forward or maybe when he's just checking and showing. So I think it gives him more flexibility and allows him to just play more fluid, more smooth. But as you mentioned, he is the next option. You know, without Julian Carranza, it's Quinn Sullivan. And Ua did play well this game. I will give him credit. Beautiful goal, had some nice chances. Did do a good job with just his movement overall, and still always would love to see more from him. But I thought he played well. As of the backup options for the attack, that's been the question mark. It's the forwards, it's the middies. Who's next? Who's next? Go. I don't know. I mean, it comes down to Chris Donovan, Marcus Anderson, Ty Baribo, who we never get to see anyways.
He did have a nice opportunity when he went in there.
The midfield. Like, he did. I just wonder how much we've seen consistently kind of the same rotations. And it is only May. And I wonder how much better Ty Baribo could be to help if he had gotten more minutes sooner. Because granted, it's not that far in. I mean, we're talking, 9, 10? I forget where we are now. Okay, it's a little more than 9 or 10. It's been 11 games. 11 games now that the Union have played in the MLS specifically, not including all competitions.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the time you're starting to get moving. You're starting to get rolling. You're getting your feet under you. You're getting your game routine, your game fitness, your game everything. And Ty Baribo is coming in almost like an injured guy. Like, he's in the same spot as Leon Flock.
Yep.
And he's been healthy. So I don't know that he's the answer. I don't know that Kevin Sullivan's the answer. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if even Andre Blake coming back healthy is the answer. And I know Jonathan Tannenwald had a piece on it too. And I was reading Matt George had one and different articles that came out after the game of what is the answer? What are the problems? What are the solutions? And how can they find some solutions to these issues? Because right now it feels like we know what the problems are, but there's no option. Who's the next option in the attack?
No, it's really it. I mean, like, if Ty Baribo can't get on the field by now, like that needs to tell you everything you need to know there. It's extremely valid, these points here. And I think that if we're talking about, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll figure it out. But again, I do worry about come playoff time when you're going to go up against the Miamis, the Cincinnatis. Will they have just enough? And to be honest with you, Renee, I think that this team does need some type of new blood. And unfortunately, I don't think that's Kevin Sullivan, which we'll talk about in just a second. But new blood is needed here. You could just tell. Like, we talk about it, the 3 years of running this back, the way they're playing at this point. I know it's not summertime, but I mean, guys, like, when in this 5-year run have we talked about this defense? This is the worst I've seen this defense in these 5 years.
Yeah,
so bad. Like, something has to give, something has to change, and I don't think it's gonna happen, Renee. And that's the scary part.
That is scary. I mean, you look at where the Union are right now. Offensively, they do have 21 goals, which is high up across the league. That actually has them sitting top 2 in the league in goals. They're tied for second. LAFC, then LA Galaxy are also tied with them. And then the juggernauts of Inter Miami have 35 goals. It's the goals against. You are top of the league in goals for, but you're also one of the worst in the league in goals against with the 19 goals they've given up. And again, 12 of those 19 are in the last 5 games where they've given up at least 2 goals in each game on average.
That's insane.
That's not good. And we're finally getting the offense breaking through. We're finally getting them creating shots. We're finally getting them possessing. Yet here you are talking about a loss, talking about the defensive struggles. And as mentioned, this is the worst their defense has looked in years. I mean, their home loss to have 3 losses on the season, and all 3 of them at Subaru Park, when they've had 3 losses total dating back to 2021, is bad.
Yeah.
They pride themselves on defense. They pride themselves on being hard to beat at home. They pride themselves on winning at home, getting results at home. All the things that are the core pillars and identity of the Union are being literally stripped away before us, and we're watching it unfold. It's like the dismantling of the foundation of what is this club. Not to be dramatic or anything, but it really is everything that we know this team heavily relies on as their foundation is crumbling right now.
Yeah.
And it's concerning because I do wonder, do we need to change the formation? And it could be any of these things. Or maybe it's locking in the back line because we have seen so many changes, especially with the 3 center backs, in addition to the injury to Andre Blake. So your most important 3 pieces of defensive unit and your 2 center backs and your goalie have been changing every game. Nate and Kai have been doing a solid job, but defensively, as we talk about, the communication's not there. And that goes to everybody. The midfielders are not defending. The forwards are defending mostly as Julian Cananza goes. So a lot of things that need to change here. And I just wonder what can be done now. And I keep asking that because I know the move was just made for Kevin Sullivan. Exciting news that I know we want to talk about and get into, JP, because that's great news from a PR standpoint. That's great news for the soccer world. And I know a lot more people are talking about the Philadelphia Union and paying attention to them and covering them and talking about them on shows and articles and different things. But on the pitch, that does not do a whole lot for them to have this major news of the 14-year-old sensation Kevin Sullivan signed to a homegrown contract, that knowing in 2 years he's going to be leaving the country to go play internationally. And also at 14, he's really not even ready to play right now with the team. So what does this signing actually mean? How is this any different than him being on Union 2? For him to be on a homegrown contract, just to say he's on a homegrown contract, knowing he might not be ready to play with the team until end of the season, maybe later in the summer.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's a dope story. I mean, it's crazy when, the cuz is telling me like he wants to talk more about the Caven situation. Like that's really cool. And like, it's so cool for, this 14-year-old kid to be highlighted. They're talking about it on NBC Sports Philly. Like they don't ever talk about the Union, which is crazy. It's so cool to see. But, Renee, you're right. We talked about this in the pre-show meeting. Like, okay, this is cool. You did a great job of marketing this news. But is that it? And did you see Jay Sugarman had a big part of the signing too?
Yeah.
Like the fact that Jay had his hand in this deal tells you everything you need to know. And this kid is going to get paid like handsomely for these next 4 years that he's going to be here before he moves to England. But like you just said it, Caven's probably not helping you this year. Like Caven still needs to figure out we need to figure out where he's at in his depth chart because, we're talking about these midfield struggles. There's still some really good players in that midfield. The problem is a unit, not individually, but as a unit. And Caven's not fixing any of this. Caven's not coming in here at 14 years old and dropping 20 goals in 10 games. Like he's not doing that. So what is the plan? I just said it. Like I genuinely feel this team needs some type of new blood. And a new blood doesn't mean a Marcus Anderson coming from 3rd Division Spain. No disrespect, because he's done a solid job since he's been here. But you guys are getting the picture here. Like we need a player of substance, of significance. Right now, before the show, what does LAFC announce? Boom, Olivier Giroud is coming over to LAFC after he's done with Milan. Like that. This is where this league is heading. are the Red Bulls, who have been stagnant over the past couple seasons. Emil Forsberg already has made such an impact on that team. They're third in the Eastern Conference. So right now with this team, it's hard to get really excited because although I do feel like this club will figure it out, they'll turn the page on this 5-game haven't won a game streak. But like, what are we going to do in the playoffs? What are you going to do when you got Messi and you got Acosta, but you're going up against those type of players and those type of clubs? I don't feel comfortable. And like, this team was just almost there. Like, these past couple years have been so fun and we've been almost there. But you're not making the moves to get you over that hump, Renee.
Yeah.
That's where I would cave in.
Exactly. You've got teams around the league, Luciano Acosta and Duncan McGuire, Miles Robinson, Messi, Busquets, the list goes on and on of the major names that teams are either bringing in, keeping, or building around. And the Union are not doing any of that. And to have this, so when the news first broke about Kevin Sullivan, which was very exciting, obviously it shook the soccer world. Everyone's talking about it. It was great. But then after this weekend, it's almost like, what the hell is the point? Great, he's out there. He banged the drum. They rolled out the red carpet. In fact, they announced it on Tuesday is when I first got the email about a press conference for a player announcement on Thursday. And I actually thought it was for Andrew Rick because, as we know, Andrew Rick had just been officially signed.
Press conference.
He had just officially been signed the weekend prior. This was on Tuesday, so it was just coming off of him being signed to the first team because of the rule that 5 call-ups you have to be a first team member. So I was like, wow, they're rolling out the red carpet for Andrew Rick. Interesting. Maybe this is a formality. Maybe they have to. And then of course we heard the news break about Kevin Sullivan. That was Thursday, I guess it would have been, in the morning. And great, exciting. Lots of potential, generational talent, superstar. But it feels like we just got, what's a good analogy for it? Like, slapped in the face. You ever see somebody get slapped in the face twice and they're like, whoa, what just happened? Like, I feel like the Union just slapped us because it was like this, all these lights and fog and red carpet and excitement. But at the end of the day, this team is no further along today than they were a week ago since that signing happened.
You know what it's like?
And the signing is exciting, but the signing does nothing for the team right now that is on a 5-game winless streak. What is it like, JP?
It's like what? So like for all my dog owners out there understand this. So like when I have to give my dog a bath, right?
Oh,
she will not. She hates the water. So what I have to do is I have to put peanut butter on a licky mat. I put it right up against the shower, and then she'll jump in there because she loves peanut butter more than anything. And that's how I have to get her in there. So she's getting this really high reward, but she's got to do something she hates doing. And that's what Kevin Sullivan is. Kevin Sullivan is our peanut butter, Renee.
Oh, no. It's a high reward, and we're all too busy excitedly jumping in after the peanut butter, not realizing we're getting bathed.
Yeah, we're getting bathed in Jay Sugarman's cheapness here. And that's kind of...
And that's the thing. This is a cheap deal. It's a good deal for a 14-year-old.
Oh, my God.
I will take that in a heartbeat. It's a $500,000.
Dude's balling.
Cha-ching, 14. I'll take that right now as a grown adult. Where do I sign up for 500,000? But in reality, as we're talking about these $1 million deals that guys are getting around the league, you literally did 50% off. BOGO.
Yeah.
You got Andrew Rick, buy one, get one. Andrew Rick and Kevin Sullivan. That's the big news from the last week of signing.
And Ivan's comment is good, but it pisses me off. And I appreciate your comment, but it pisses me off because... Yes, Marco Reus, who is the Borussia Dortmund legend, right? He's a free agent, and there is a little bit of a lure for the MLS. And oh, by the way, Renee, you have a German athletic director who knows Marco Reus, but yet we can't get him because there's going to be other teams that are going to throw more money. I know St. Louis is deep in that conversation right now. I don't know if they'll get that done, but I do know that they're in the mix. Another club with a lot of German influences as well. And it's like, dude, like Marco Reus would be perfect here. You could put him in so many different positions here. Veteran, and more importantly, Renee, he knows how to win at the highest level. And this is what we're talking about. It's not just about selling butts and seats, but creating a culture of winning. I know we've won a little bit, but these guys haven't gotten over that hump.
No.
It's so frustrating.
It is, and a guy like Marco would be a great addition, as you're mentioning, Ivan. But as we know, the Union aren't going to spend. The Union invest more in the young talent, the homegrowns, as we just saw this past week, than they do in the guys that are ready now. And that's part of what makes, I feel like, the winning culture difficult, because you have so many guys like Quinn Sullivan, Nate Harriel, Jack McGlynn playing fantastic, but they're still young and they're being asked to do so much more than they should. They should be your complementary pieces. You shouldn't have to rely on them. But instead, you have the aging crew, our pre-AARP crew, like our 30 plus. And listen, we're 30 plus. They're our group. I love these guys. I love Andre Blake and Ali Bedoya and
so
Jacob Lesnes and Jack Elliott. But they have a lot of Jose Martinez, a lot of miles on the tank. They're not guys that you should have to rely on every single game to play 90 minutes to get you the results. Then you also have the young guys that you're also asking to just do so much so fast. And they're not fully ready for that. The maturity, the composure, the responsibility, just the patience and understanding the game, they're not fully there yet. They're a year or two out from consistently that. And by the time they get there, they'll be gone anyways on another team internationally. And then there's the like in-between guys. And Julian Carranza, Daniel Gazdag, they're in a whole different league of their own. But those in-between guys that, give you good minutes, true role players. Mm-hmm. But the Union refused to pay. Where is, and we've said this so many times, where is that player from 24 years old to 28, 29 that has won in international leagues, that has maybe, some national team appearances to his name for their respective country, has caps and goals and I don't know, forget a golden boot, done something. The Union will never bring in that guy. So I did feel like this was all smoke and mirrors. I'm extremely excited about the news for Kevin Sullivan. I want to just clarify that. Very, very excited, but also a little frustrated in the fact that the Union made this major global soccer signing, knowing good and well we might not see him on the senior team at all this season. Actually play. Great, he's training with the team. Mm-hmm. But what does that do for them in games? They need pieces. They need players. They need depth. They need attackers. They need goal scorers. They need defenders. They need a lot more. So that's where we are on this Monday.
That is where we are. It's just absolutely rough. I mean, like, even look at Benjamin Kramashi from Miami. He is already going to his career is heading in the right direction because he's every day working with Lionel Messi. Now, again, we're not saying go get a Lionel Messi, but like a player, a veteran player who's been there and done that in Europe is so big. Like I don't understand how it's not like common sense. Like, how is that not common sense? Right? You wake up, you brush your teeth, you put your clothes on, tie your shoe, whatever, and then you go buy a player from Europe that's been there and done that. Like, I just don't get it. It is what it is at this point, I guess, but it's just so frustrating. Yeah,
I mean, you have Luis Muriel is a great example of a guy. He is 33. He's part of our 30 plus crew, like myself and you guys now. But when he was acquired, a Colombian striker, picked up in February from Serie A, has struggled to get going, but as we saw, had a brace in the game for Orlando to help them win, including the game winner. These are the types of moves that you will not get from the Union. To bring in a DP that actually is going to be a 90-minute player and a goal scorer, to be able to bring in a veteran, to be able to bring in an established player. So the hard part is the Union have to turn around and play in 2 days. And hopefully it's going to be a situation where, and we'll talk more about this, of course, we'll have a preview for you guys to check out, but hopefully it's going to be a situation where they, with the quick turnaround, have no choice but to quickly put the game in the rearview mirror and focus on Wednesday, focus on NYCFC.
And, before, it was 2022 when we had that screaming goal from Jose Bruno Martinez got deflected off of Corey Berg. That crazy game, the Paul Russian game where he's fighting with Maxi Morales. Like, that match kind of turned the Union season around, and they destroyed the competition in the summer, and you saw what happened at MLS Cup.
Right.
Maybe this is what they need. Maybe they just need a matchup with NYCFC.
Yeah,
and we'll see what happens. So make sure you guys stay tuned. It's a busy week for us here at PHLY Union.
Can I add one more thing before you go into the schedule?
Absolutely.
Because just want to hit this point home a little bit harder.
Hit it.
So I was reading the piece about Luis Muriel's transition into Orlando City, And, Oscar Pareja was talking about, the hopes and expectations for him, how they brought him in as a goal scorer because, that's what he came in here to do. And he has had, at 33 years old, over 100 goals in Italy's top flight.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of production when we talk about bringing a guy in. Over 100 goals, 33, a true goal scorer. You don't need him to be, your Duncan Maguire. You don't need him to be that guy, but you need him to be the guy that, when needed, can step up and score and deliver a goal.
Trust me, we have a couple of those in Colombia. I can help, Ernst. I can help. Just let me know.
Yeah. So now tell the beautiful people, Ivan and everyone, about our schedule this upcoming week.
Big week here. So make sure you guys stay tuned because tomorrow we'll have the preview show out for you. We're going to have Christian Polanco, NYCFC's own, from the Soccer Cooligans, to help us preview the show. Guys, we only try to get you the best when it comes to preview shows because you guys only deserve the best. So make sure you guys are following, you're liking, you're subscribing. Check us out wherever you stream podcasts as well. And with that, I do have to make a big announcement because we're going to have a new member here at PHLY. Tyler Zulli is going to be a dad. Come on.
Oh, I was like, where are we going with this?
I love it. The family's getting bigger.
Oh. Man, I didn't know. Yeah, I'm like, did we hire somebody that we didn't know about? Am I getting replaced?
Another
Are we getting replaced?
Congratulations to
I was
Tyler.
so happy to see that.
Just another baseball
Tyler and
nerd
Bridget
coming.
Having a little.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Tyler. So make sure you guys are checking out PHLY. Anything else, Renee, you want to throw out there?
I know, Ivan, thank you for agreeing, and thank you for tuning in and also mentioning how Moriel cost about as much as the Union paid for Ty Boribo. Yes. Listen, the sun will always come out tomorrow. And however that saying goes, the sun will come out tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be a better day.
Tomorrow.
5 winless games, and hopefully the Union figure it out sooner than later. We shall see. Well, make sure you guys are plugged in and staying tuned to PHLY Union. That's going to do it for this edition of PHLY Union Podcast. For Tyler Zulli, behind the glass, Renee Washington, I am JP Zapata. Ladies and gentlemen, you dupe on. Talk to you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.